Guys, we're here. I am excited to be with Jake Schiro, APX 1031. We're talking tax deferments. We're talking 1031 exchange. Jake, say hello. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me. Good to see you. I'm Jake Schiro with APX 1031. We are a 1031 exchange accommodator here in San Diego, but we handle transactions nationwide.
Oh my gosh. And you save people from capital gains taxes, and you allow their money to keep growing tax-free, which is super exciting. But I'm really stoked to hear about the resources and opportunities you see in the landscape here in 2026 and beyond for realtors that they can bring to their customers and their prospects on exactly around what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I see a really big opportunity with real estate agents, especially on like the residential side with this silver tsunami that's coming up here. I don't know. I'm sure it's pretty big talk. You know, there's all these baby boomers that are aging and planning for, they're passing on their investments, their real estate to their heirs.
Yeah, it's been called the biggest transfer of wealth in history.
In the history of the world, yes. Okay. It's massive. It's they estimate it to be almost $73 trillion between now and I think it's 2048. So in the next 2 decades, pretty massive transfer.
Whoa. And they're saving as much taxes as we can on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where we see the opportunity, we deal with clients so the numbers on it, there's 73 million plus baby boomers, and every single day, 10,000 of them are turning 65. That's a trend that started in 2010, and it's going to continue through 2030, at which point all of them will be 65 or older.
Wow, that's a lot of opportunity.
A lot of opportunity. And where we see the opportunity on the real estate side, they make up 21% of the population, but own an estimated about 38% of American homes.
Okay, so some of that is landlord stuff, right? Some of that is rental units. Some of that needs to be transferred, and we want to save as much capital gains as possible to retain that wealth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you come in.
That's where we come in. So we're making an effort to really get in front of agents and talk about, hey, I know when you're dealing with their like their primary residence, things like that, you got to be asking about their rentals. Do you own rentals here in town? And then really kind of looking to have a conversation about what the plan is for those.
The exit strategy and how that's going to end up and stay with the family or not, or So let's walk through. Let's say I have a fourplex in Carmel Valley or somewhere in San Diego County, and I sell it, and the profit's going to be $1 million just for easy math.
Sure.
Okay. So I can take my profits and then pay taxes on that because it's income from an investment, right, which is to the tune of 30%, you were saying?
It ends up being between 30 and 40% when all the taxes are taken into account for it.
Wow. Yes. Transfer, capital gains, income tax, all that?
State, federal, depreciation recapture comes in. That's a big one. And then also the net investment income tax. When it's all figured in, it ends up being about 30 to 40%.
So I'm left with 600,000, 700,000 out of my million, right? Yep. To give to my heirs, and then lose my foot in the game at the same time of real estate, which is only going up and to the right in San Diego anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or I can do a 1031 exchange, which is tax code, which allows me to do what?
To defer that capital gain. So you're able to reinvest that money and not pay that capital gain. And you can continue to do that and defer till you die, as they say. But that at which point those capital gains, the heirs receive a stepped up basis.
Okay. So explain that. So the step up in tax, the tax basis gets stepped up once it transfers from the person that just deceases and to the heirs?
Exactly. So at that point, right, they've amassed a $10 million portfolio. When they pass on, the new starting tax basis for that would be the $10 million.
Oh, I see.
So then if the heirs sell it, they don't have the capital gains would go away. It's not to say there's not additional, inheritance tax or anything like that, but the capital gains tax would go away at that point.
I see. Okay. So that's a hookup you can give to your heirs and to your family after you leave the planet, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the strategy behind that? So I'm a realtor and I've got 300 past clients, some of which have some rental property and they're questioning what to do with it. They need maybe their house rich, cash poor. They need to access some of that equity, but they don't want to lose their foothold on their rentals. What would you suggest if with these baby boomers that are starting to reach that threshold, what's the value proposition? How do I educate that my population of customers if I'm the real estate professional?
Well, so the one thing we're seeing that really is motivating people to sell is not wanting to be a landlord anymore and get out of that, especially these older folks that have been managing these things for 20, 30 years.
Tenants, toilets,
trash, all of that. And then on top of it, with San Diego and California as a whole, they keep changing all of these tenant laws and making it harder and harder for owners to really operate a rental, right?
Oh man, yeah. It's getting hard. I mean, you hear the horror stories on social and everywhere that it's just harder and harder to get these guys out, and they haven't been paid for 6 months. It's just terrible stuff.
It is. And so there's all kinds of landmines. There's attorneys out there helping tenants not pay, helping tenants kind of take advantage of landlords and monetize that almost. But so there's a lot of different reasons and reason to have urgency to sell, but there are also options out there for these landlords that would be fully passive options that they can exchange into. So it's a very tax efficient way to then not be a landlord any longer.
So I can keep my equity in a safe harbor where I transfer eligible for the 1031 exchange deferment, right? Or deferral of taxes, but I don't have to be in there pushing buttons and sending plumbers and all that.
Exactly.
What's that look like?
Well, they're fully managed properties. They buy into a much larger property. So they're a fractional owner in a much larger, usually institutional sized property, similar to like a REIT, but it's something that qualifies for a 1031
like
exchange.
An office park or a huge shopping center or something like $40 million piece of real estate.
Yeah. Think a 500 unit apartment building with all the amenities, Class A, something like that.
Wow.
They can own a piece of that and get paid based on the equity that they own within that deal.
That is fantastic. And then it's hands off and I get a check every year for my part in the deal, or
you get monthly disbursements. They call it mailbox money because it just gets direct deposited. We have a ton of clients that have been going into it, and that trend is continuing upward.
That's fantastic. So I mean, the toil on the owner is way less, right? Management, hardship, heartburn from all the 3 T's goes way down. So where do they find these products? Is that something that you in connection with people that offer these types of things? Can you point them in the right direction?
Absolutely, yes. So we have a whole slew of brokers that we work with that sell these products basically, and we're kind of the middleman that gets them there, right? Okay. And so what we've been trying to do is really just help educate agents that, hey, this exists, this population, it's a perfect fit for them. It's not a perfect investment for everybody, but for this particular demographic, it seems to be really, really just very advantageous, and they really enjoy it and seem to really adopt it. Like it takes it to a passive side. We have a client that's
an easy jump.
Easy jump, yes. Okay. And we have a client that actually did it. He's been slowly but surely turning his whole portfolio into passive investments. He's done about 15 exchanges with us over the last couple of years because he's had just a lot of single family rentals around.
That's a good client, huh?
It's a great client, yeah. He's great to work with as well. So
well, now, and I understand you guys are have put a landing page together with information about precisely this, like DSTs or different opportunities to roll your equity into tax deferred?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just an informational, educational page, very non-salesy. Like the whole point is to provide education.
Wait, you're not going to retarget them all over the internet and hammer them with phone calls and texts and emails?
No, not at all. We want to provide resources.
So I go, I learn, I raise my hand when I'm ready, and you're there for me. Okay.
Yep. It's got all the contact. It puts them in touch with us so that it's not a sales side. It's just furthering the education. Because we have, over half of our clients last year went into these products.
Oh man!
So we have a very good working knowledge with it, and we have a great kind of team around us that can really advise and provide those solutions, and then make it a really good transition and a smooth process. And it solves for the whole thing. It takes away a lot of the intimidation factors that go into a 1031 with the timelines and all of that. It kind of mitigates all of it, really.
Absolutely. And I can vouch for Jake, who I've known for years, and Chris on his team, and then all the people behind the scenes, that responsiveness, service, client first attitude, and providing solutions that are client first has really been the theme I've noticed in working and referring you. So you wouldn't be here if I didn't like you and trust you already, right? What are some, so that's the opportunity. That's the good news. What challenges do you see, if any, out on the horizon that maybe are some pitfalls our residential realtor friends can kind of guide their clients through, or at least make them aware of?
Well, pitfalls on that. Like there are things with these products that like they're illiquid. You can't get out of it. So like if you have a client that they're going to need to access that capital, it's going to be tied up into that deal for the life cycle of it. Which
so you don't just pull right out and
right. Okay. You don't have quick accessibility to the cash. So that's one thing to take into consideration. You know, you want to consider all factors when doing these.
So it's a set it and forget it type of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then maybe mobility within different assets is probably a challenge then. If you're like, I don't like this shopping center in Irvine that I'm a part of, how do I get out of it?
Yeah, that's the thing. You want to really do your due diligence on the front end before going into them, because once you're in it, you're probably going to be locked into it for the life cycle of that. There isn't much of a secondary market, so that's one thing to take into consideration. Also, to take into consideration who, like the sponsors and the actual people operating the assets, looking at the track record, making sure that it is a viable company and not just some fly by night that just came up. So there is a good amount of education.
And I'm sure the ones you're offering on your website aren't like Johnny come latelys or people that haven't been vetted to some extent.
Right. Well, on our website, we don't have the products. Like we're not selling these. We're just providing a source to get the investors from point A to point B, to get them in touch with the people that can advise on this.
Okay.
And the people we work with are vetted out and have strict.
So you'll have a handful of people that would probably have some products they can consider, and these people have been vetted with your experience and your relationships. That's cool. That's a good place to start.
Exactly. We stay in our lane. We facilitate the transactions. We make the introductions so that it can be a meaningful process for everyone.
So when I'm have an escrow and they want to do a 1031 exchange, I just have the escrow officer reach out to you. I reach out to you directly. How does that? What are the nuts and bolts of that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so you want to make sure the 1031 has to be set up before you close on the sale.
I see.
So that is a critical piece. I got a call this morning about someone they closed yesterday. The money wired in. They're a taxpayer on that transaction. They're not able to exchange. I don't like getting those calls.
Can't put the rain back in the cloud, Jake?
You cannot, unfortunately. So it's very important to be aware of that and be on top of it ahead of closing. But yes, other than that, getting us plugged in with escrow, we'll kind of take it from there. We really try and quarterback as much of it as we can and take as much off of the agent and the client's plate as far as the 1031 side, so that they can really focus on finding those replacement properties and having a smooth 1031 exchange.
That's rad, man. Thank you. So one thing that I was curious about was they're calling it a gold rush of sorts with this ADU and the legislation in our county, San Diego, and throughout California. The ability to put ADUs and JADUs, et cetera, on single family residential, and now moving towards doing like for like. So an ADU on a 5-unit property, you could have 5 ADUs, and then there's a way to do contingent or attached JADUs and end up with like 8 to 12 units or something. So they want to solve the density issue, right? So where does 1031 come into that? Can I take a flip and take the money in 1031 into a new acquisition that I plan to do ADUs or a micro apartment complex on, or how does that work?
So not a flip. The 1031 is for long-term capital gains. So you have to have owned it for a year or more, typically, is the accept. So you wouldn't want to do it on a flip. But at a property that they've owned for some time, they can do an exchange and they can acquire an asset that, yes, they plan on putting ADUs on. There is what's called an improvement exchange or construction exchange. We get a lot of calls on those, and folks wanting to buy it as part of their exchange and then build the ADU utilizing that exchange. It's still 180 days total time to acquire and complete the work and or use all the money from the exchange to do the work.
So you won't have permits by then, typically.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like as much as it would be great if you could do that through the 1031, timing wise, it's just not feasible.
I understand. So you want to be able to acquire the asset, then do the build and make that make sense that way, not like all in one fell swoop, because 180 is 180.
180 is 180. It'll be on you before you know it, and it won't work timing wise. But you can absolutely acquire the asset that you then plan to do the ADUs and build them on after the fact. Just I wouldn't plan on having it be part of the exchange.
Well, that's really cool because it frees up somebody who's had I think of my mom. She's got 4 units in El Cajon and she owes next to nothing on it and has X amount of equity. If she wanted to get more aggressive on another property, she could trade that money in to get 6 units or a duplex, but the opportunity to put a bunch of new builds on it, and the money just doesn't get to stagnate. You can use this tool to use that equity as a down payment and as the kind of capital fuel to get the next thing going in your investment portfolio.
Absolutely.
It really frees them up to do a lot more.
1031 is a very powerful tool because it's got a lot of flexibility. There are a lot of ways you can be really strategic with whatever your goals are. And so that's a part of our process, is wanting to understand what your goals are and then be able to, point you in the right direction, or, just discuss opportunities that you might not be aware exist within this transaction type.
So final question here, and I'm putting you in the hot seat a little bit.
Boy.
But so I have a lot of agents like, hey, I have to define what my next up leg is going to be. Or you have to, how many days you have to identify?
You have 45 days from the date the sale closes to identify your replacement property.
So a lot of clients come and say, hey, let's sell this property. And then they're like, okay, we have 45 days. So do you help people do some matchmaking at times? Do you have access through your broker relationships, through your pipeline of customers, where you can float it out there and find an identifying property? Or have you helped agents do that? Because I get those questions a lot.
We have, like when possible, we always try and plug in the agents. Like our biggest goal is to connect the right people. Like we're not in the brokerage side. We stay in our lane and just facilitate exchanges.
For sure, but so
we
do
want
I,
to connect, but we connect
with people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like our goal is to really get them in touch with the agents that have the deal.
So maybe you have like a relationship with a brokerage like Marcus Milchap or Colliers or somebody that you do a lot of deals with. You say, you know what, you should really reach out to these 5 brokers. There's a high likelihood they'll have something for you to identify and step up to.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So we can use you as that resource. Please. Use him as a resource. Get to know him. He's a solid guy. He's a lot of fun, but just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to tax code, period, but especially as it pertains to real estate. We really appreciate our relationship with you. And, you being on today is a huge help, I
appreciate you having me. This was awesome.
Yeah. So any final thoughts or anything that you want to leave in the mind of the realtor that might be watching?
Well, if anything resonated, or especially the conversation around, exchanging into passive opportunities and really kind of targeting those folks, we do in-office presentations to, really show how to have those conversations, and really we're going to be showing the website and just kind of how to leverage that to help make it a little bit easier to get some of these listings and get some of those folks that are on the fence off the fence and moving towards selling, and moving that along into their exchange.
I urge you to hit them up. Chris and Jake are not hard to find, and a little bit of knowledge on this, you guys, could unlock 2-3 more listings you otherwise wouldn't have had. So arm yourself with this knowledge and what this unlocks for your client and what their equity could be doing for them, and that could create more opportunities for them and for you and your business. So we are thrilled to be with you, man. I think it's going to be a gangbusters 2026. I'm pretty pumped about it.
Me too.
And until next time, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, brother.
Right.
Okay. I'll see you next time. It's Ryan and Jake, and we out.
Okay. Awesome.
Nice work.
That was all right.